see the Ford popularity is certainly on a sharp rise here. Whereas live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Hello and welcome to the Not Ready for Primetime podcast. We're Gary Seath and Brad Robinson.
And you're not.
Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 6 of Saturday Night Live, starring Lily Tomlin. The show originally aired on November 22nd, 1975. Brad, this is the Lily Tomlin show.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good episode.
It's great. This is an episode, I think this is the first host that we've had that's really been a sketch performer themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And you can definitely tell, right?
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Yeah, it is. It's nice to see after Robert Klein last week, which was a bit of a shaky episode, to be kind. Things turn around, then they get better this week. Yeah,
I think this show and the format really play to Lily Tomlin's strengths, right? I think she started as a stand-up comedian, and then she became a sketch player in Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In the early 70s, I guess, late 60s, early 70s. She was on that show. And this show totally played to her strengths. And she had a relationship with Lorne coming into this week.
That's what I was going to say. This is our first host that has a real connection with Lorne. He knew Paul Simon and they were friends at this, and they'd become better friends. But I think at this point, Lily Tomlin's the biggest connection Lorne's had that's come on the show. So he knew her from Laugh-In. He had written and produced all three of her specials that she had done in the years leading up to this. But yeah, like you said, she was stand-up, sketch player. This is totally her wheelhouse, and it shows.
And in 1975, for her, was also a big year because she was in her first film role in Nashville. And she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that role.
Yeah, that movie came out earlier that year. She's great in it. And yeah, we'll find out later this year. Yeah, she'll get nominated for the Oscar and a Golden Globe, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's a big year for her. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And this show really shows off her talents just across the board. I think it's a great show for her.
It does. And it's funny because I am not a Lily Tomlin fan in general. She's funny. She's just like not she doesn't play to my tastes, but I really liked this episode. Like I thought she was great in a lot of the stuff that she did in this one. So I actually enjoyed this episode much more than I thought I would. And the Lily Tomlin of it all coming in at this point is also interesting, I think, for the women on the show. It's the second female host.
Yeah.
But, Candice Bergen came in, as we've said, not a comedian. So she really didn't have any kind of voice. I wouldn't say, what's being written, what's being said, the comedic tone or voice of it all. So this is the first chance where they actually have a woman's voice creatively, I think, getting involved because, and we've hit on this a little bit, where the women, at least the writers on the show, to this point had really been struggling to find a voice, to get sketches on, to get their input laid out. It wasn't, from what I've read a little bit, like Lily Tomlin was not as open as you would have thought to the female writers and, and their 2 cents and giving them their shot. I think they were really looking forward to that. And I don't think they got as much as they wanted. There's a great example of where they did in the Hard Hat sketch, which I think is brilliant. But it's just interesting, I think, in the scope of the show of getting a really talented and well-known female comedian to try to help the women writers on this show get a little bit more attention that they deserve.
Sure. It's also interesting with a female host, you expect more sketches with the female cast members. I think, there was some more exposure in the Candice Bergen episode for the female cast members. But in this one, there are a lot of solo Lily sketches and bits that didn't include anyone else, let alone the other females.
Yeah, which to me, again, not being a Lily Tomlin fan, were the things I liked the least. Because she was bringing in characters that she had done on Laugh-In or her specials or her comedy albums. So I get why they did it and what people want to see. This, I believe, was I think up to this point, it's the highest rated episode of the season. Carlin was high and then they took a dip a little bit. But I think this is, to this point, would have been the highest rating episode. So, of course, people want to see her and see what she's doing. But as I always say, I like seeing the cast. I like seeing the host in sketches with the cast. So when a host comes out and does their own character, you know, if you love the host, you probably love it. But if for me, in like this instance, if you're not a big fan of the host, I'm not saying it's not funny. It's just doesn't hit me as strong as some other stuff would.
Yeah, that's fair. Should we get into it then?
Let's do it up.
All right. The show starts as normal with a cold open. And this is another Gerald Ford sketch with Chevy sitting at the desk. And a few chyrons that come on are the first bits, really, where it said, it's not a good impression of Gerald Ford, but Rich Little wouldn't work at scale. I don't remember Rich Little's Gerald Ford impression myself, but
Rich Little did everyone.
I know. So it's a Gerald Ford sketch of him at the desk in the Oval Office talking about Ronald Reagan's recent announcement that he was going to run for president in 1976. And there's some comedy bits where he picks up the phone rings and he picks up a glass of water and puts it to his ear. And then he switches the phones. It's, you know,
it's silly. It's goofy. It's funny. It feels long. This has to be the longest cold open we've had. But like, I don't say that necessarily in a bad way. I actually think it's pretty good. And it's like, I think the first time we really see what, you know, we know his Gerald Ford to really be, you know, the bumbling at the desk doing stuff. You know, we saw him do the press conference one, which was weak. You know, this was definitely better. It's interesting, you know, but it's like they haven't committed to this being a Gerald Ford. You know what I mean? Like they still, the opening screen is the unofficial seal of the president. They're still not playing up as like Gerald Ford. And I don't know why. Like at some point they'll just succumb and be like, this is Gerald, you know, it's Gerald Ford. We're making fun of Gerald Ford. Like we know he doesn't look like him. We know he doesn't talk like him, but like they give up on impressions matching people. Like Dan Aykroyd is Jimmy Carter and has a mustache. So it's like, no, like everyone buys that, like, you know, it's not like today where like people put on prosthetics and wigs and have to look the part. So,
well, but at least when he did Jimmy Carter, Dan Aykroyd used a different voice. Like Chevy doesn't do anything, right? He's just Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Saying that he's Gerald Ford. But
yeah, the water to the ear gag's funny. He revisits the no problem when he hits his head. He did that in the line he used when he fell off the podium. So again, it's pretty funny. You could see it coming when he gets up and goes to the easel with the charts. You know what's happening, and it's another serious fall. Like he takes a flop over a desk, ass over head. Like it works.
Yeah, it works, and it was one of the longer cold opens. It was almost 3 minutes.
Yeah. It's fun. And I like now you start seeing the cold open being, yes, it's a vehicle to get Chevy to fall, but there's some substance to it. It's more than just 45 seconds of lead up to that. They're doing a little bit more, which I like. I thought the Gerald Ford thing was great. The phone conversation thing and holding the phones up to flipping each other phone on the wrong receiver. Like it's all funny and it all really works. And I like seeing this cold open get meatier than just 45 seconds, 60 seconds to have a fall.
I think it's a good demonstration of Chevy's kind of understated comedy too, when he puts the two phone receivers to talk to one another and then he switches and hangs up the one on the other phone. And yeah,
it's great. It's really fun.
It's a good one. The opening credits on this show are almost standard.
Yeah, nothing. Thank God.
Well, they
hit
introduce,
our stride.
No, that's not true. Cause they introduced Howard Shore and his all nurse band gets
I guess he's kind of like the de facto music guest this episode. So I bought that because it's the nurse band is like the music guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, straightforward. The Muppets, a film by Albert Brooks, the Not Ready for Primetime Players with their two title cards. Everything else is status. And then we get our monologue from Lily Tomlin, and she comes down the stairs at home base.
And it feels so right.
It feels
like
so
how
much
good
better.
Does it feel to like proper that it felt. It fades in. It's empty. The door opens. You see her enter into applause. She comes to the stage. Like it just felt right. Like finally, 6 episodes in, they realized how to do this. And I hope they realize that. And this is what we do moving on. Cause it was great to see.
Yeah, it was interesting. And it's not the catwalk. It's just home base. Yeah, it's good. And Lily Tomlin launches into a monologue. And this one, I think, was the first. She really played up the fact of being in New York City for the first time. It's kind of become a staple in the show, but this was the first time that the host mentions that in their monologue and makes it part of their monologue.
Even taking out that mentioning they're in New York, this is really the first time we see the monologue of what we know it will be. You kind of had it in the Candice Bergen one, but it was really a sketch with the bees. Rob Reiner did his shtick, and it's not a stand-up comedian just coming out and doing their act, but it's more talking to the audience, talking to the show. She's a comedian. She does eventually get into her bit when she pulls the notebook out of her shirt and then basically has great lines about it felt very Steve Martin to me, which is not to take away from Lily Tomlin at all. But what does it mean laughing all the way to the bank? Yeah. Why is there not a special name for the top of your feet? Why is it if you're the last person in line, it's not moving, someone gets behind you, you feel better about yourself? It's good. But to your point, she addressed the crowd. She's talking about the show. She does this cheer for New York City, which was kind of fun. And by the end, she's like, take pride in yourself. You could have been Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And it goes out. This was great. It's a blueprint for what every monologue moving forward would and should be. And it's fantastic. She does a great job.
You definitely see her strength as a performer, her time as a stand-up and being able to do she did a number of one-woman shows after this. And you see that strength there where she can control an audience, command an audience, and does a great job.
Yeah. And like we just said, more so to that you don't have to be a stand-up comedian and just do your act.
Right.
You can address the show. You can be the host. You can welcome people to the show instead of just going into your pre-written out, 5 minutes. So it was great. It was really good. It was a great opening.
It was really strong. From there, we go to our first sketch of the night, which is our first look at Beethoven. So we open on John Belushi's Beethoven writing. I wish I knew more Beethoven, that I knew which number symphony this was that he's playing. But Gilda plays his wife and Lorraine plays their maid who brings him food. And he's so into composing that he doesn't eat. And Gilda and Lorraine are worried that he doesn't eat.
Right. And then the joke is they leave the room and he segues from classical music to tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. It's what he starts playing at the end.
That what that song is?
Yeah. An old ragtime tune.
Yeah.
I mean, my note is this is funny. This is just great. This is just a great bit. It's short. It's funny. It's great to see Gilda. It's a Belushi. I know this so well because this is on the John Belushi best of VHS tape I've had since I was 10. So I was excited to see this. And we'll see it throughout the episode. It's just funny.
I think it works. It's interesting because you see this, you don't know that it's going to come back, but right. This does work as a standalone. And each time it comes back later in the show, that just gets stronger and stronger as they build on one another. And it's great.
It's interesting because it's a good point. This could stand alone by itself. Yes. And it'd be fine. Yep. And it is even better because it comes back and forth. But I hadn't actually thought about that as if you were watching this for the first time and you did not know, You'd see it again, how well it works. And yeah, it works well. Yeah.
From there, we go to Lily Tomlin on stage with a thermometer in her mouth. And I didn't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
But then Howard Shore
do a great job on the reveal. You're talking. It's a great reveal. Yeah.
And Howard Shore comes on dressed as a nurse, reads the thermometer, and then you realize they pulled back. She's sitting on Mr. Entertainment's Paul Schaefer's piano.
Paul the Shiv Schaefer, friend of the pod, exactly.
And it reveals that the entire band is dressed as nurses, hence the all-nurse band. And Lily sings the song St. James Infirmary Blues. And I thought this was great. The band clearly enjoyed what they were doing. They were having fun with it. Lily Tomlin can sing.
Yeah, I didn't really know that.
Yeah. And I thought this was a fun performance. I thought it was, again, a little early in the show for a musical performance, but that seems to be what we've seen so far this season.
That didn't bother me because it was the host. You know what I mean? And it was kind of a bit with the nurses. So I didn't mind that. And we'd seen Beethoven, so it wasn't the first thing. But
Beethoven was a sketch. This is like a musical performance.
That's what I'm saying. You got a sketch before this.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, the first thing we got was ABBA doing SOS. Right? Or it was like Pong, I guess, in that. I don't know.
That doesn't matter. I think it was SOS. I think you're right. That came first. Yeah. But yeah, it was just earlier than what we've come to see. But I just enjoyed watching the band, and the band was great. And, see Alan Rubin, you see Blue Lou back there.
Tom Bones Malone's back there.
Yeah. And everyone just had fun. And then when they start singing the background vocals, it was great.
Yeah, this is fantastic. This all came about from Howard Shore. When they started the show earlier this year and they move into the NBC building, NBC has this library of all these recordings. So Howard Shore had stumbled upon this and thought it would be a cool thing to do for the band on its own at some point, just the band. And then this was the week, Lauren's Bring Around had Lily Tomlin come talk to him, and he had the idea of doing this number. She was totally into it. And then Michael O'Donoghue is the one who has the idea of like, well, you should all dress up as nurses. So then they become characters in it. And then we see this later on throughout the season. We'll see them in the Christmas episode. They'll play the Bees when the Blues Brothers come on later on. So, but yeah, this is a great performance of a song that's been covered by like tons of, I think the biggest one is either Louis Armstrong or Cab Calloway's version's probably the biggest back in the day, but Lou Rawls has covered this, David Van Ronk, Bobby Blue Bland, Eric Burdon and the Animals, the White Stripes had this on their first album. So, it's a song that's been made the rounds. And as you said, great version.
That was just I feel like it was, even though I was saying it was early in the night, it was a good early number because it had so much energy and seemed like so much fun.
And yeah, the whole dressing up in the nurses bit and all, like, and the band singing, like it was fun. So it totally worked.
From there, Don Pardo introduces another filmed message, and this is, again, Triopenin, which I think this particular Triopenin is the same. It's a repeat from episode 1.
This is the first one? I thought this was the second one they did from the Candace one. Regardless, we've seen this before. Yeah, it's Triopenin. Yeah.
This is the first time we see Triopenin not in a weekend update, but yeah, it's the same Triopenin message. After that, we get another repeat, Jaws 3. Well, I guess it's not a repeat.
I like how it's Jaws 3. Yeah, like
it is Jaws 3.
Funny
right?
They make it Jaws 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's another Landshark sketch, and starts with Lorraine. She falls for the Candygram bit again. It's very much the same as Jaws 2.
We go back and forth between single women being attacked by the Landshark to Brody and Hooper. No, yep. Brody and... He calls him Brady in the sketch.
Yeah, he calls him Brady.
But his name is Brody in the movie.
Right.
Right. But yeah. But so we go back and forth, and I like this one. It was great. It was funny.
Jane once again has a mallet in her apartment. Whacks Dan.
It's the same exact set from the Candace episode. It's like the same. And the women are always on the same set again. They don't change
No, all of the apartments are the same.
I enjoyed the Hooper Brody bit better this time.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much the first episode. I know you liked it. It worked better this way. And I appreciated it. Maybe it's because we talked about it. Belushi's Dreyfus.
Yeah.
The stuff he did with his hands and
the breathing
I noticed it a lot more, and it was really good.
I did like when the shark came on screen and starts talking to Dan Aykroyd. Like, set up a search party.
The shark comes from stage right from the door and just starts poking him in the back and talking. It's great.
What we're going to do is we're going to get some people together. Get a posse. That's right. Surround the area. Right. That's good. Surround the area. Walkie-talkies. Good. Walkie-talkies. Maybe carry some harpoons. That's a stupid idea.
It's good. It was a great way to like make this different from the one they did last time. So I liked how it was hilarious. And then the Don Pardo bit where he's on the radio and then he gets taken away and the shark takes over the radio broadcast. I thought was hilarious.
That was funny when the shark comes on the radio. He's like, just, let him in. Ask him if he wants a sandwich.
Soda, some Oreos.
Soda. Yeah. After Dan dies, I like when they go to his widow, Lily Tomlin, and there's the picture of Dan on the end table. Did you see that?
Yes.
That's hilarious. Just really a goofy picture of Dan.
She's wearing that same outfit. It's so like, because she put a wig on, right? To look like Lorraine Gray in the movie. She's got a blonde wig on, but she's wearing that same weird floral shiny outfit.
Yeah. Yeah. That is funny. And then just as I wrote down, this is very long.
Yes. I had the same thought at the same time.
The Landshark comes in as a voiceover. It's Chevy telling Lily and John to wrap it up because it's running too long.
Which I thought was great. It's the show calling attention to itself as the show. It was a great bit, and it made fun of like, it had the same thought everybody else had. It's going long.
Right.
And Lily's got a great line where she's like, I can see them doing this to you, but I'm the host.
I wrote that down too. I thought that was great. I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. Good. It was a good way to end it. It's also a way the entire cast, except for Garrett, is in this this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm only laughing because we'll see Garrett for some weird reason in the next sketch.
Well, the next sketch is Garrett and Jane in that same living room sketch.
In the same set, yes.
And they are making out on a couch. And Chevy just walks in dressed as a bellhop to deliver the newspaper. And of course, drops all of the newspapers everywhere. And then it's just a physical comedy bit for Chevy of picking up the newspapers and dropping more. And that's the sketch.
That's all it is. There's no point to it, but it works. Like it's blatantly something, just a reason for Chevy to do physical comedy that he's so good at. And, it's short, it worked. And it was, he keeps dropping the newspaper and picking it up and then dropping it again and leaving. And then he walks out and opens the door and comes back in. It's short and funny. This is I had critiqued a lot early about, short sketches going nowhere, but like this one works. This is a short one with just silly and goofy and it works.
It was good. It did work. After that, we have our first pre-tape of the night, I guess not including the commercial, with Edith Ann, Lily Tomlin's character that she had played, I guess in Laugh-In was where she started.
In Laugh-In, yeah.
And she's doing an ice skating thing. It's just signature Edith Ann. If you know this character, Lily Tomlin plays a 5-year-old.
Do you know it?
I have seen it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. She plays a 5-year-old who it narrates her life essentially and different things that she's doing as a young child. And this one, she's trying to learn how to ice skate. And that's the bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. This is what I think of Lily Tomlin's. Like when I think of Lily Tomlin, this is what I think of her kind of comedy character, stuff like that.
Right.
And so for me, it's just not my thing. So I'm like, it's fine. Like there's funny jokes in it from time to time, and I guess, yeah, this is a character she did and became a big deal. She did like animated specials with her in the 90s on this character. So I get it. It's just, this is one of those things where it's like, like to see more of the cast, but it's not bad.
It's not bad, but I agree with you. It's fine. From that, we come back to our second Beethoven of the night.
Which is great.
So he's amassed more and more plates of food that they've brought him. He hasn't eaten anything. Same bit, different song. This song is My Girl, which he sings with his German accent and sings Mein Fräulein at the end.
And he does a great subtle facial, like when he starts getting to the boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Boom, boom, boom. And he's like, watch his face as he puts it together. Like it's a great job.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's brilliant. And again, it's short and sweet.
Now, this wouldn't play on its own, though, I would say. Like, you need the first one to make this one work.
Well, I think...
Which plays well, but yeah.
And having seen 2, now you kind of expect there to be a third one later, probably.
Or hope there is, at least, yeah.
Yeah. But that was great. This then leads to Gilda on her own, standing on stage, talking to the audience about how the show's going to be on hiatus for 2 weeks. And then come back with Richard Pryor. And she mentions the Candice Bergen Christmas special after that. I think this is the only time we see Gilda on her own this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is our, what has now come in the last 4th week in a row. This is our Gilda being Gilda piece. And this works great.
Yeah, it's great.
Just being herself, goofy, and, announcing. And they do this a bunch. They'll ride this out, next week's host and this and that. But it's a great little thing to do.
And it totally works. Then we go to Weekend Update. Again, Chevy with the phone bit leads into a bunch of Ford and Reagan jokes for quite a while.
I didn't think the opening worked this week.
No, I didn't think it did either.
I didn't think the phone gag worked, and I thought Chevy's delivery just wasn't. I felt like they just didn't think of anything this week. Like there was nothing good to come up with in there because he was like, he starts off of it and then picks up the phone. So like, the whole joke was always we interrupted him before. So it's like, I don't know. It's almost like they forgot to write something for this.
Yeah, I thought the beginning of this Weekend Update was nothing that made me laugh hard. I did like they had a simulation of Gerald Ford, I guess, stabbed himself with a fork. I don't know.
Right.
And they just had a simulation, but it was what it was.
Classic update. Topical humor, a couple good lines. We get the beginning of the General Francisco Franco dead joke.
Generalissimo Francisco Franco. Yeah.
Yeah, we get he's dead in this one.
Yes.
And then we'll revisit it down the road over and over again. So it was funny to hear that. And then and the George Wallace stuff was funny again. They usually do pretty good George Wallace jokes. So yeah. Par for the course on Update.
Update's filmed commercial this week was for Spud Beer, which is a beer for people who can't taste the difference. So the whole bit is that people are coming out of electroshock therapy and they're then given Spud Beer, which is beer made from potatoes.
Not great. it's another one of the summer pre-tapes written by Zweibel and Davis, actually.
Oh, really?
Zweibel. Yeah, Alan Zweibel and Davis did this one together. And friend of the pod, Neil Levy's in it. We give him that.
I did
Once
see
again.
him. Yeah.
And Jacqueline Carlin. It's funny. You watch all these as we watch week to week, and it's like you're realizing like they've shot all these, all these pre-tapes in a 2-3 day span in the summertime. So of course it's all the same people. And now you're just seeing them week after week after week after week.
Come back from that spot and Chevy has a Spud beer that he pours on his suit as a joke. I didn't really get that.
Yeah, I didn't like. I mean, him messing up his lines was the funniest part to me in this return.
Yeah.
And the Woodstock joke. There's a joke. They show Woodstock dressed as a Hell's Angel, and they say Charles Schultz is replacing Woodstock with a bird named Altamont, who will beat the other birds with a pool cue.
And then it wraps up with Garrett Morris, headmaster of the School for Hard of Hearing.
Overly excited and jumps the gun.
Yes. Yeah. This is, he starts talking before Chevy does. He's so excited.
It totally ruins the gag.
It kind of does.
When you speak before the guy you're supposed to repeat speaks. But anyway, they finish it up.
Our top story tonight. News that the CIA has been involved in several assassination plots on foreign leaders. And that's the news. Good night and have a pleasant.
Come back to a Lily Tomlin character, Susie. Again, another character that she had played on. I think that's also from Laugh-In, and she played different places. She's a college sorority girl, and her main joke, I didn't know this at the time, but I found this out later, is that she's constantly wondering who stole her Carpenter's album.
The Carpenter's joke, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But in this bit, she is writing to her former sorority sister, Patty Hearst, who has gone away from the sorority. And then she turns it into a song where she sings to Patty Hearst. I think this is something I don't know a whole lot about Patty Hearst. I didn't know a lot about this Susie character. I think I had seen her before, but not a lot. It was all right.
Yeah, this is another one. I didn't like it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't my kind of thing. But I get it. It's Lily Tomlin. People are tuning in to see her. She's going to do her characters, her bits, her sketches. This is now the second one we've seen. You know what I mean? Like, I get one would work. It's just now you're doing it again. So it's like, as we've always said, if you're a big fan of the host that week, you probably really like the episode. If you're not a big fan, it may miss. So this is, sometimes they win you over. This is just an instance where, again, not bad per se. Just wasn't something I totally dug.
Something that we usually don't dig is our next feature, our Muppets sketch of the night.
Yeah.
Wait, before we get into it, though.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of, so I wrote this down a few episodes ago, and I don't remember which one. It's not the Land of Gorch. They introduce
I have this.
it as
Why do they
Dregs
give
and
it title?
Vestiges.
Sometimes it has a title, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it's Dregs and Vestiges, and sometimes it's the Land of Gorch, and it's not consistent.
No. Is there a title screen for Land of Gorch, or they
No.
just call it? They just say it, right?
Yeah.
They say we're going to the Land of Gorch, and then sometimes there's a title that says, I don't know. That was my first line. Why does it have a title sometimes and sometimes not?
Yeah. Well,
obviously neither of us know. So I'll ask Alan Zweibel.
Yeah. I like how he's your go-to. So this Muppet sketch is centered around Scred. And I don't remember the characters' names, even though I've seen them 5 times already. But the main Muppet, played by Jim Henson, is wondering... Plubus.
And I forget the wife's name, but
yeah. They're wondering where Scred is. They can't find Scred. They go to his cave. They think he's in love, and they go to his cave and see that he is indeed in love with Lily Tomlin. And so the whole, we don't see the great Favat this episode for the first time. And it cuts to Scred on stage with Lily Tomlin, his new love interest, and she's trying to break his heart because she can't be in love with a puppet. But then they break into I Got You, Babe, which I actually enjoyed.
I thought Scred with Lily was the best thing the Muppets done all season.
I totally agree with you.
Like, it worked. It was seeing the Muppets interact with humans was watchable. Like, this worked for me. For the first time in 6 weeks, the first part was a little rough, but when he sits with the Muppets, I mean, It's a little long. It's fun. It's cute. But Lily Tomlin is just too charming. Like she sells that bit. Like she's so good.
Well, I think this is the first time we see a Muppet with a human in this way that would become standard for like the Muppet Show later on.
Right.
But you see the
right.
way in which they interact with one another. And this is Jerry Nelson, like one of the all-time great Muppet performers. He's excellent in this role with interacting with a live human and conveying that emotion. Like he makes Scred, this ugly alien monster, just look charming and in love with Lily Tomlin. I just thought this was brilliant. Yeah. I thought he did great.
I thought it was great. This I hope they do more, and I think they do more of this, of take the Muppets away from Muppet Land, whatever it's called.
The Land of Gorge.
Gorge. This was great. It was fun to see them as like part of the show like everyone else. You know what I mean? It made it feel part of the show for the first time, as opposed to like its own weird kind of separate entity. So I liked it. The song was good. It was funny to watch him and her sing together. Like it all worked. Once they got rid of the two of them from Gorge and went to the stage, it was great.
Yeah, I thought this was really great and charming, and Lily Tomlin was lovely in this. So
yeah, again, not the biggest Lily Tomlin fan, and I'm like, she's just so goddamn charming in this that it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best Muppets we've seen so far.
And it's funny because I go from such a high happy feeling to such a low unhappy feeling.
Seemingly from commercial, we come back to Lily still on stage. By the way, still in the same outfit that she's been wearing all night and holding the rose that Scrag gave her. She then introduces the next. She dedicates.
In case you missed it.
Yeah, she's on home base and she dedicates the next bit to some people in the audience who I didn't know, didn't mean anything. And then she introduces a replay of, quote, one of the very most popular of Albert Brooks's films. And they replay The Impossible Truth from episode 1.
I mean, I don't know. We've talked about it already, so
we don't have to talk about The Impossible Truth.
No, but it's just interesting that they do a rerun. I don't know why. Maybe they were waiting for him to deliver. Because this is now 2 weeks in a row without a new film by Albert Brooks. So maybe they felt the need to put one on. But yeah, I don't know. This gave me a chance to go to their fridge and get another glass of wine, so it was fine.
After this, we come back to Beethoven number 3, which again falls in line with the first two of Beethoven composing, and Gilda and Lorraine come in to try to give him more food. And after they walk out, he breaks into a song. Although this time he puts on sunglasses.
Well, they do a great, it's a great comedy bit, where each time you go, you just ramp it up one level. So, they set it up small in the first one. The second one, you take that step forward with My Girl. Now this one, you go all the way to the end with sunglasses, and the women come back in and do backup dancing and singing and vocals. And it's great.
It's great. He breaks into the Ray Charles number. That's What I Say. And this is classic. This is a classic sketch.
Yeah, this is the best one of the three. You probably could play this one by itself because it's so good. And I think when they start like whittling away the Belushi clips, this is the only one they'll show of the three. But it's great. And, they leave and he takes out the snuff box and he snuffs in the little hachoo. Yeah. I've always loved that. Hachoo.
Yeah.
And I liked, after watching last week's episode so recently, I actually really liked the Gilda hit that she like knocks John in the head after he beat the crap out of her last week in the Peckinpah sketch. It was funny to see her get her return and actually slap him upside the head pretty hard. So that was funny.
Yeah, it was good.
And I think it's a good ending. Like, it's done. They're not coming back now. I feel like they've got an ending of the cycle of these three bits, and it was fun to see.
The next sketch takes place in a construction school, essentially. So we're in a classroom setting, but all of the women are on set in coveralls and hard hats, and Lily Tomlin's playing the professor. I thought it was interesting. Her desk was actually an I-beam in front of the room. And she's lecturing the other women on how to ogle men as they walk by. So the trope of construction workers yelling inappropriate things to women, they just reverse it in this bit. And Dan comes out as, I guess, the man for them to practice on. Mm-hmm. And Lily starts by yelling different things to him. And Dan is kind of surprised at first, I think, by what they're saying. And then as the sketch progresses, they say different, I wouldn't say crude things, but more suggestive things to Dan. He becomes more and more offended by what they're saying. And that's the sketch.
Yeah, it's a smart sketch. I like it a lot. It's a Ann Beats, Rosie Shuster one, and it's smart. It's done really well. Lily Tomlin's excellent. Her performance is really good, as is everyone's, but she stands out in this one.
She does.
And Dan, yeah, as he's walking back and forth, and Lily berates him, or whatever, and then Gilda does, and then Jane. They all take their turns. Like, Dan looks genuinely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
which is the whole point of this sketch and the whole point of this. So, I wouldn't throw him out of bed. Like, there's some great lines, and you just see
he's wearing short shorts and a tank top. Like it's funny.
Yeah. They had a hard time finding somebody to play that role. Like, Belushi flat out refused and wouldn't do it. Part because he wasn't a Tomlin fan. And again, the whole thing of him with women funny nonsense, not being funny, I guess I should say. And also just didn't want to be in the outfit. You know what I mean? And I'm sure Chevy thought he was above it. So Dan kind of got stuck playing that role, unfortunately for him, and you could tell he didn't want to be there. And it's funny, I'm watching it and I was like, who would have been great in that?
Who's that?
Murray. Like, if that was a season 2 sketch, Bill Murray would have, because he would have committed.
You're right. Yeah.
And you could see Bill Murray just being great in that. Not that Dan wasn't. Like, Dan was fine. He was great. And he played it would have been different because Dan played the uncomfortableness of it, which probably is what you need more in the spirit of what this sketch is and what it's doing and what it's saying.
Right. You
need him to be uncomfortable and not the Bill Murray of like playing into it. So actually, I'm probably wrong. Dan's probably the best one to do it. Now that
I think
talking it through,
it's a different joke if
yes.
Bill Murray plays it as Bill Murray, right? That just changes the entire tone of the sketch. But for what this is,
less smart with that,
right? Yeah.
It's smarter. It's a smarter sketch this way. I mean, the writing's so good. The writing is so good. It's probably the smartest sketch we've had this season. Like you would joke on how I'm always looking for point in sketches. Like, this one has a point. It has something to say, and it does it very well. And the writing's great. Again, Lily Tomlin, I think this is her best performance of the night.
She's great.
All the ladies are great. Gilda's great. Hubba. Jane Curtin's great. It's a wonderful sketch.
It is. This is also probably our most elaborate set we've seen to date.
I guess so, yeah.
Right? I mean, to date, the Muppets set seems to have been like the most elaborate thing.
Yeah, you take the Muppets out, half your sketches are on home base, I think, still.
Or in that one living room.
Or in that one pink-walled living room.
Yeah. But this is like, we actually have, and I don't think it's a real I-beam, but we have, an I-beam that is the desk, and there's a jackhammer and a chalkboard and all of the signs.
Which all goes to selling it. Like, you have to have a set for this.
Exactly.
This couldn't be done on home base. You had to make the set. You had to have the set dressing right, and the outfits. Everything works great. They're carrying the lunch boxes. Everything works.
Yeah, I did think at the end where Dan is so upset and they take an hour-long break and Gilda's the only one left there. I thought the joke was going to go to her hitting on him more, like genuinely, but she doesn't.
Yeah, it was a weird ending because you're like, everyone leaves and it's the two of them, and he's, so upset, and it basically gets resolved by her being, "Don't worry, it's only school, or it's just school." And then, you pull back, and not that it was a missed opportunity, but it was kind of a weird ending. But I don't have obviously don't have a better solution. But yeah, it was interesting the way they decided to end it.
After that, we have another filmed message. This time it's Ann Beats is our actor talking about all of the things that she does as a mother. And she just kind of rattles off everything she does coming home and doing the groceries and running the errands and doing the laundry and doing this and doing that. And it turns out that it's just a commercial for Speed.
Yeah.
Literally, like, it just says the name of it is Speed. It's a bunch of blue pills in a bottle.
It's another one. Another one. Short, quick, It's pretty good. Her physical comedy of the pacing of pulling stuff out of the bag continuously the entire time she's talking, I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was timed well and it was so good. And then she, goes to the cabinet and she's got the stack of brown paper bags. For somebody who's not, a trained performer or not, like as a cast member, she did a great job.
She was great. She really was. And I think her physical comedy, to your point, was I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but she sold the bit.
So fluid. It was so fluid, and this struck me as being something, in the Jamatol mold.
Yeah. But,
like making fun of obviously Speed isn't a legitimate product, but it's like, a product joke, but better. I think this is like a Jamatol inspired bit, but better.
I liked the line at the end that was, ask your doctor. And when that prescription runs out, ask your mother's doctor, and then your neighbor's doctor, and then your babysitter's doctor. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
We come back to Lily Tomlin on home base. Is she on home base?
I think so.
Hard to tell. Yeah, I guess so.
Because this is another one. They do that curtain every now and again. So
right.
It's what's weird because we know now that there's so much stage space on there because there's little side stages and stuff that they use that they reuse home base so much with or without a curtain. So, but I feel like this was home base just with the chair set up as it was a dance hall. Yeah.
And it's Lily Tomlin at a 50s dance, really. And she's in a poodle skirt and it's just a one woman bit where she's talking to her friend about this guy that she likes and how great he is. And she's, it's long. It
is long. It's another, character bit that Lily Tomlin brings to the show. She did this character, Tony, on her comedy album that came out that year. It's the one that at the end Gilda's trying to get her to sign,
Right.
So it's like, again, I feel like I keep saying the same thing. It's like, this is, again, what I think of Lily Tomlin. She does character bits, one woman, monologue. She'll do scenes by herself. And it's just not my cup of tea. I don't think it's all that funny, but it's good. Like, I think of this more of her when I think of Lily Tomlin. I think of this more than the monologue that she did, and I like the monologue much better than this. But again, it's just my taste. But like, it's definitely thought out. It's well written. She totally commits into the character. She's pulling all of this off by herself. So by no means am I saying it's bad. I just didn't love it. And by the end, I will say, like, I came around. I was enjoying it by the end where she gets to the bit where she's eyeing the guy across the way. And she's talking like, is he coming? Is he coming? And then he walks by, like, what's he doing? Like, that whole part, I thought the ending was great. It was really fun. And by the end of it, I was won over. But it was a little long getting there and just not my thing. But
no, I agree with you. Not my thing either. But the way in which she performs this totally pulls you into that scene. Like, she sets the scene without saying anything. And the way that she acts it out is just, I thought that part was brilliant. I just did go long.
Yeah, it's good. Like, I would watch this any day over the Denny Dillon Nun thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not necessarily my particular brand that I love the most, but I wouldn't not watch it. I wouldn't say it was horrible. Like, it was fun.
Yeah. But it is long. It's the last 6 minutes of the show.
Is that how long it is? Wow.
It is. Anyway, we come back to Lily at the piano in front of the St. James Infirmary with the bees.
The bees, I was like, maybe they took a night off, but no.
No, they did not. So we come back to Garrett, Lorraine, Gilda, and Chevy.
Chevy. Yep, I have Chevy as a bee.
Ding. Added to our Chevy and the bee costume counter. This is two. They're all standing around Paul Schaefer's piano, and Gilda is fawning over Lily Tomlin, asking her to sign her album. And
she should have been fawning over Paul Schaefer's hair.
Right? That was
amazing.
My
God. What is that? It's already bald on top, which is fine, but like, it's just going down so long on the sides.
So long.
Come on, Paul.
Yeah, I noticed that when they were singing St. James Infirmary. I
didn't notice it till here. Yeah, this is when I noticed. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. But the cast then breaks into bebop, where they're all just singing some jazz and bebopping and having fun again.
Time filler. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a time filler.
It's funny. It was funny. Lorraine's really good.
Right?
Like, I was like, Garrett obviously is good because he's a singer and he knows what he's doing. And Chevy was whatever. He was fine. But like, Lorraine Newman was really good. I don't know why I'm surprised, but she was great at this.
No, she was. She was really good. Gilda makes a funny bit out of it where she's like, pretends like her throat all of a sudden hurts, but it was great. I enjoyed seeing Paul Schaefer, like, oh, Paul Schaefer has played the same way since the 70s. And
yeah. You could,
it's fun. It's I don't know. That was fun to me.
Yeah, he's always had that energy. It's great.
He has. And that's the show. That was
it's a fun, good night. It was great to see the cast together with the host at the end of the night. It was fun to do a little bit. You know what I mean? It was fun. And then Don Pardo's back for a little bit. It's like they brought everything back that they missed last week at the end. It was good.
Right. No, it was good. It was a great way to wrap up a fun show. All in all, I thought it was a really enjoyable show. Very
solid episode. I mean, especially after, what happened the week before. The only negative thing maybe is, Lily Tomlin brings a few too many characters of her own and does some one-woman stuff that, again, just wasn't for me. But other than that, they, for me, were the weakest things, other than watching an Albert Brooks film that we'd already seen.
Yeah.
But good sketches. Thought it was paced really well. I did kind of miss a musical guest. You know what I mean? Like, not saying it was too much comedy, but the blues number was good and I liked it, but it was like, I did kind of feel missing some type of an artist. Even if they just did one song, I did kind of miss it a little bit.
But then we got the I Got You Babe from Scragg and Lily Tomlin, right? So, I mean, we had two musical numbers is all I'm saying. Like,
oh, yeah, I just meant like an act, like a musical act where, because that always does feel a little separated. You know what I mean? It's like, here we go, and now this. And so it's a good thing. I had to know too, I feel like I missed Jane in this episode. She's in Hard Hats, and she's in the little bit with Garrett in the bellhop.
But that's it.
And she's in Jaws. So like she's in stuff, but I don't know why. I don't know. I just felt like I missed her for some reason in this.
Yeah.
For no good reason. I don't know.
No, she didn't have any, like, she wasn't carrying anything this episode.
That must have been
all.
Yeah. But it was a great bounce back. A great bounce back from Robert Klein.
Yeah, it was a great episode overall. Brad, what's your best bit?
Brad's best bits?
Bits.
We need like a theme music.
No, you know what we need? Yeah,
someone's got to, like, if someone more talented than us could come up with like a little theme thing and send it to us, we'll gladly throw it in here. It'll be a nice segue. We'll give someone whoever it is credit. It'll be nice. Like, it's time for Brad's bits.
Best bits.
Whatever. See, this is why we don't do it. But if someone with talent could do it, we would be very appreciative. I go with Hard Hats and Beethoven, and I think Jaws 3 was great. All three of those I would say you have to watch.
All right, so you're picking every sketch that was not a preconceived Lily Tomlin character.
I didn't pick Bellhop or the Cold Open.
Okay. Well, the Cold Open. Okay. I will take the
You can agree. You can just say
I mean, I agree. It doesn't
have to be different.
I think I agree with you. Like the Beethoven, I think is hands down yes. I was gonna and Hard Hats is brilliant. And I would just add the I Got You Babe with Scraggs and Lily Tomlin, because I thought that was great, and it was something different, a different way to see the Muppets in the show. That's all.
If you have to go and get yourself familiar with the Muppets on this show, yes, start here. You don't need to watch the first 5 Muppet performances. Watch episode 6 and watch the Scred with Lily Tomlin. Yes.
All right. Anything else on this episode, Brad?
I think we covered it all. I think we just, thanks again to everybody who's out there listening. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please give us a rating and a review. Tell your friends, get them listening, and hit us up on social media. Not Ready for PT Pod, Twitter and Instagram. We try to post almost every day something up there, and chime back in. We love talking with everybody about this era of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that would be great to hear from everyone. And again, thank you for listening. Next week, we are watching episode 7 from season 1 with host Richard Pryor and musical guest Gil Scott Heron.
Yeah, it's, probably the most well-known episode from season 1. Probably that, or the George Carlin, one of those two. So, but probably the Richard Pryor. So, yeah, a lot to talk about. It's going to be fun to get into that one. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm excited to watch it again.
Me too. Until then,
good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.